Admiral Kang Tae-ho stood at the edge of the observation deck and looked out into the darkness of space. Behind him, the blue glow of Earth filled the massive window. It was beautiful. It was home, and it was in danger. The message had arrived 3 hours ago. The Dravex Empire had gathered its fleet at the outer boundary. 3,000 warships. More firepower than any species had ever assembled in one place. They wanted Earth, they wanted humanity, and they believed no one could stop them. Tae-ho was 62 years old. He had served in the United Defense Fleet for 40 years. He had seen first contact with alien species. He had watched humanity grow from a small planet into a civilization that spread across 12 star systems, and he had prepared for this moment his entire life. "Admiral," a voice called from behind him. He turned to see Commander Park Yuna walking toward him. She was young, only 35, but she had proven herself in dozens of battles. Her black hair was tied back in a tight bun, and her uniform was perfect. She carried a data pad in her hands. "The council is ready for you," she said. Tae-ho nodded. "How are the crews?" "Nervous," Yuna admitted. "The Dravex have conquered 47 species. No one has ever stopped them." "Full of X. No one has ever been human," Tae-ho replied. They walked together through the long corridors of the space station. Soldiers saluted as they passed. Engineers ran to their stations. The entire station was alive with activity. Everyone knew what was coming. Everyone knew that the next few days would decide the fate of their species. The council chamber was a large circular room with seats arranged around a central platform. Representatives from every human colony were present, their faces appearing on holographic screens that floated in the air. The President of Earth, a calm woman named Kim Hana, sat at the head of the table. "Admiral Kang," she said as Tae-ho entered. "Thank you for coming." "Madam President," he replied with a slight bow. "We have received the Dravex ultimatum." Hana continued. "They demand our complete surrender. All human colonies. All resources. All technology. They give us 7 days to comply." "And if we refuse?" asked a representative from Mars. "They say they will destroy us," Hana said simply. "Every ship, every colony, every man, woman, and child." The room fell silent. Tae-ho could feel the fear in the air. The Dravex were not making empty threats. They had done this before. The Vorlon species had refused to surrender 50 years ago. Now the Vorlon were extinct. Their planets were empty rocks floating in space. "What do we know about their fleet?" asked another representative. Commander Yuna stepped forward. 3,000 warships, as we reported. Their flagship is called the Dominion. It is 5 kilometers long and carries enough weapons to destroy a moon. Overlord Velthos commands the fleet personally. "Velthos," someone muttered. "The Butcher of Korax." Tae-ho had heard the stories. Velthos had risen to power by crushing anyone who opposed him. He had killed millions. He enjoyed it. He believed that strength was the only thing that mattered in the universe, and he was very strong. "We cannot fight them," said the representative from Europa. "We have 500 ships. They have 3,000. The math is simple." "The math is not everything," Tae-ho said quietly. All eyes turned to him. "Explain," President Hana said. Tae-ho walked to the center of the room. "For 200 years, humanity has been quiet. We have built our colonies. We have traded with other species. We have smiled and been polite, and all that time, we have been preparing." "Preparing for what?" someone asked. "For this," Tae-ho replied. "For the day when someone would try to destroy us." He pressed a button on his wrist, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed the solar system, but it was different from any map they had seen before. Hidden among the planets and moons were thousands of red dots. "What are those?" Yuna asked, her eyes wide. "Project Endgame," Tae-ho said. "Weapons, platforms, missile stations, defense grids. We have been building them for 150 years. They are hidden in asteroids, buried under the ice of moons, floating in the darkness of space. No one knows they exist. Not our allies. Not our enemies. No one. The room was completely silent. How many? President Hana asked. 12,000 platforms, Tejo answered. Each one capable of destroying a Dravex warship. The representative from Europa leaned forward. Why did we not know about this? Because secrets are only safe when no one knows them, Tejo said. A small group has maintained this project across generations. We hoped we would never need to use it. But we always knew this day might come. President Hana stood up slowly. You are telling me that we can win this war? I am telling you that we can survive this war, Tejo corrected. Winning and surviving are not the same thing. Many people will die. Ships will be destroyed. Colonies may fall. But humanity will not be erased. We will not become another extinct species in the history books of the Dravex Empire. Yuna looked at the map with new eyes. We need to send them a message. A final warning. Tejo nodded. That is why I am here. The Council must approve the broadcast. Once we send it, there is no going back. We will be telling the Dravex that we are not afraid. We will be daring them to attack. President Hana looked around the room. The representatives were still scared, but now there was something else in their eyes. Hope. Maybe even anger. Send the warning, she said. 1 hour later, Admiral Kang Tae-ho stood before a camera. Behind him was the flag of the United Earth Government. His face was calm. His voice steady. This message is for Overlord Velthos of the Dravex Empire, he began. You have gathered your fleet at our borders. You have demanded our surrender. You have threatened to destroy us. I am here to give you our answer. He paused and looked directly into the camera. No, we will not surrender. We will not bow. We will not give you our homes, our families, or our future. You have conquered many species. You have destroyed many worlds. But you have never faced humanity. His eyes grew cold. This is our final warning. Do not cross the outer boundary. Turn your ships around and go home. Because if you come for us, we will show you something you have never seen before. We will show you what happens when you threaten Earth. He leaned forward slightly. Dare to cross, and endure the aftermath. The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched the message. Some laughed at the small species that dared to challenge the mighty Dravex. Others whispered prayers for the doomed humans. And on the bridge of the Dominion, Overlord Velthos watched with cold amusement. Then he gave a single order. Begin the crossing. Overlord Velthos was a giant among his people. He stood 3 meters tall. His gray skin covered in the scars of 100 battles. His eyes were black pools that showed no emotion, no mercy, no fear. He had ruled the Dravex Empire for 200 years, and in that time, he had never lost a war. He watched the human's message again on the large screen of his command chamber. The small creature with its soft skin and weak body. The calm voice making threats. The foolish pride of a species that did not understand its place in the universe. Play it again, Velthos commanded. His officers exchanged nervous glances, but obeyed. The message played once more. When it finished, Velthos began to laugh. It was a deep, rumbling sound that echoed through the chamber. They threaten us, he said. These humans. These insects. They actually threaten us. Overlord, said his second-in-command, a Dravex named Torax. Should we take the warning seriously? The humans have never made such bold statements before. Velthos turned to face him. Are you afraid, Torax? Torax lowered his head quickly. No, Overlord. I merely suggest caution. Caution is for the weak, Velthos replied. We have 3,000 warships. The humans have 500. Our ships are larger. Our weapons are stronger. Our soldiers are better trained. What can they possibly do against us? He walked to the massive window at the front of his command chamber. Outside, his fleet stretched across space like a cloud of metal and fire. 3,000 ships, each one a weapon of destruction. It was the largest force ever assembled in the history of the galaxy. The humans have been hiding for 200 years, Velthos continued. They built their little colonies. They traded their little goods. They smiled at us and called us friends. But I always knew what they really were. Cowards. Pray, what are your orders, Overlord? Torax asked. We cross the boundary, Velthos said simply. We ignore their warning. We show them and the entire galaxy what happens when someone dares to refuse the Dravex Empire. The order went out across the fleet. 3,000 ships powered up their engines. Navigation systems locked onto the coordinates of the human solar system. Weapons were loaded and ready. Soldiers prepared for the invasion that would follow the space battle. On the bridge of a smaller warship, a young Dravex officer named Kren watched the fleet begin to move. He was only 30 years old, barely an adult by Dravex standards. This was his first major campaign. Something bothers you, said his captain, an older warrior named Draven. Kren hesitated. The human's message. He seemed very confident. Humans are good at lying, Draven replied. They smile when they are angry. They speak softly when they are scared. It is their nature to deceive. Draven replied, "Vengeance of the plies, but what if they are not lying? What if they have something we do not know about?" Draven laughed. We have watched the humans for 200 years. We know every ship they have built. We know every weapon they have made. There is nothing hidden. There are no secrets. They are simply trying to scare us with words because they cannot fight us with weapons. Kren nodded, but the worry did not leave his eyes. The fleet crossed the outer boundary at exactly midnight, Earth time. 3,000 ships moving in perfect formation. It was beautiful in a terrible way. Like watching a storm approach across an ocean, unstoppable, inevitable. In the human solar system, alarms began to ring on every station and ship. Admiral Teho received the news while sitting in his quarters, reading an old book. He closed it slowly and stood up. So they chose war, he said quietly to himself. He walked to the command center of his flagship, the Earth's Fury. Commander Yuna was already there, her face pale but determined. They crossed, she said. I know. What do we do now? Teho looked at the tactical display. The Dravex fleet was moving fast. They would reach Earth in 3 days. 3 days to prepare. 3 days to say goodbye. 3 days to make sure everything was ready. We wait, he said. We let them come deeper into our space. We let them think they have already won. And then, Teho smiled. It was not a happy smile. And then, we wake up. Project Endgame. On the Dravex flagship, Velthos was celebrating. His officers had brought him the finest food and drink from conquered worlds. He sat on his command throne and watched the stars pass by. 3 days, he said. In 3 days, we will stand on Earth. We will burn their cities. We will take their people as slaves, and the rest of the galaxy will finally understand that the Dravex cannot be stopped. What about their fleet? Torax asked. 500 ships is still a significant force. We will destroy them in the first hour, Velthos replied. Their ships are small and weak. Their weapons are outdated. They have never fought a real war. They do not know what combat truly is. And after we take Earth, we take everything, Velthos said. Every colony, every station, every resource. The humans will cease to exist as a free species. They will work for us. They will serve us, and they will learn that their little warning meant nothing. He raised his glass in a toast. To victory. To victory, his officers repeated. But far away, hidden in the darkness of space, something was waking up. Deep inside an asteroid that floated between Mars and Jupiter, machines that had been sleeping for 100 years began to stir. Power flowed through ancient circuits. Weapons systems ran through their startup sequences. Targeting computers calculated trajectories. On the ice moon of Europa, buried under kilometers of frozen water, a massive structure began to heat up. Its systems had been maintained by automated robots for generations, waiting for the signal that would bring it to life. In the rings of Saturn, floating among the rocks and ice, thousands of small platforms activated their shields. They were invisible to normal sensors, hidden by technology that the Dravex did not know existed. And on the dark side of Jupiter, where no light ever touched, the human strike fleet waited. 200 ships. Hidden in the shadow of the giant planet, their crews sat in silence, watching their screens, waiting for the order. Admiral Tejo had not lied. Humanity had been preparing for this day for 150 years. Every generation had added to the defenses. Every scientist had contributed to the weapons. Every soldier had trained for this battle. The Dravex thought they were hunting weak prey. They did not know that the prey had been waiting for them. They did not know that they were walking into a trap that had been built over centuries. And when they finally understood the truth, it would be too late. On the second day of the crossing, Kren noticed something strange on his sensor display. For just a moment, there was a tiny flicker of energy from an asteroid they had passed. "Captain," he said. "I detected something." Draven looked at the screen. "I see nothing. It was just for a second. A small energy signature. Probably just radiation from the asteroid. These human systems are full of debris. Do not worry about every rock and ice chunk." Kren looked at the asteroid as it disappeared behind them. He wanted to believe his captain. He wanted to believe that there was nothing to fear, but deep in his heart, he knew something was wrong. And soon, very soon, he would find out just how wrong everything had gone. The war room, deep beneath the surface of Earth, was silent. President Kim Hana sat at the head of the table, her hands folded in front of her. Around her sat the most important military leaders of humanity. They had all received the same news. The Dravex had been crossing human space for 2 days. In less than 24 hours, they would reach Earth. Admiral Tejo appeared on the main screen, broadcasting from his flagship. "Madam President," he said, "the enemy fleet has entered the designated zone. They are exactly where we need them to be. Thanks for watching." "I'm work visit rum. Casualties so far?" Hana asked. 3 observation posts destroyed, 17 people dead. They did not have time to evacuate. Hana closed her eyes for a moment. 17 people. The first deaths of a war that would claim many more. She had known this moment would come. She had prepared for it. But knowing and feeling were different things. "Begin Project Endgame," she said. The order traveled across the solar system at the speed of light. On 12,000 hidden platforms, the same message was received. 2 words that changed everything. "Wake up." On the asteroid between Mars and Jupiter, the weapons platform designated Alpha 7 completed its activation sequence. Its commander, Lieutenant Li Jiwu, had been living inside the hollowed-out rock for 3 years, along with a crew of 20 soldiers. They had trained for this moment every day. Now it was finally here. "All systems online," his weapons officer reported. "Missiles armed and ready. Targeting systems locked onto the Dravex fleet." Jiwu nodded. "Send confirmation to command. Tell them Alpha 7 is ready." All across the solar system, similar messages were being sent. Europa Station reported ready. The Saturn Ring defense grid reported ready. The platforms hidden in the darkness between planets reported ready. 12,000 weapon systems, all aimed at the unsuspecting enemy. On the dark side of Jupiter, Commander Yuna stood on the bridge of her ship, the Silent Thunder. She was part of the strike fleet. 200 of the most advanced ships humanity had ever built. They were fast, they were powerful. And they had been hiding for 3 months, waiting for this exact moment. Her communications officer looked up. "Message from Admiral Kang. We have received the awakening order." Yuna felt her heart beat faster. This was it. After all the training, all the preparation, all the waiting, they were finally going to fight. "Power up engines," she commanded, "but keep us in Jupiter's shadow. We do not move until the Admiral gives the signal." The Dravex fleet continued its advance, completely unaware of what was waking up around them. Overlord Velthos was in his private chambers, reviewing the plans for the occupation of Earth. He had already decided which human cities would be destroyed first. He had chosen the locations for the slave camps. He had even picked out a palace for himself on the human homeworld. "Overlord," Torax's voice came through the intercom. "We are detecting some unusual energy readings." Velthos sighed. "What kind of readings?" "Small spikes across the system. They appear and disappear quickly. Our sensors cannot lock onto them. Probably human communication signals. They are panicking, sending messages to each other." "Ignore it." "Yes, Overlord." Velthos returned to his plans. The humans were afraid. Of course they were afraid. Anyone would be afraid when they saw the Dravex fleet coming for them. He imagined their leaders crying and begging for mercy. He imagined their soldiers running away. He imagined their cities burning. It never occurred to him that the energy readings might be something else entirely. On Earth's fury, Admiral Tejo watched the countdown timer on his display. In 4 hours, the Dravex fleet would enter the kill zone. That was what they called the area of space where all 12,000 platforms could fire at once, where the trap would close. "Admiral," his communications officer said. "All platforms report ready. Strike fleet reports ready. Ground defenses on Earth report ready. And the civilian evacuation? 90% complete. Most people are in the underground shelters. The surface cities are nearly empty." Tejo nodded. They had been preparing the evacuation for months, disguising it as emergency drills. Most humans had no idea what was coming. They thought it was just another practice. They would learn the truth soon enough. "Send a message to all commands," Tejo said. "Tell them to remain hidden until my signal. No one fires until I give the order. We get one chance at this. We cannot waste it." The message went out. 12,000 platforms confirmed. 200 ships confirmed. Ground defenses confirmed. Humanity was ready. On the young Dravex officer Kren's ship, the strange readings had not stopped. In fact, they were getting stronger. He had reported them 3 times, and 3 times his captain had told him to ignore them. But Kren could not ignore them. Something was out there. Something was waking up. He could feel it in his bones. "Captain," he said again, "the readings are increasing. I am detecting multiple sources now. Hundreds of them." Draven walked over to look at his screen. His eyes narrowed. "That is strange. Should we report it to the flagship?" Draven hesitated. If he reported something that turned out to be nothing, he would look foolish. If he did not report something important, he would be punished. It was a difficult choice. "Send a message to Fleet Command," he finally said. "Tell them we are detecting unusual activity across the system. Request further investigation." The message was sent. But Fleet Command was busy with other matters. Overlord Velthos had demanded a celebration dinner for his senior officers, and no one wanted to interrupt him with minor concerns. The message was marked as low priority and filed away. 3 hours passed. The Dravex fleet entered the kill zone. Admiral Tejo stood up from his command chair. This was it. The moment that would decide everything. He thought about his family back on Earth. His daughter and her children. His wife, who had died 10 years ago. He had promised her that he would protect their people. Now he would keep that promise. "Open a channel to all commands," he said. His voice went out across the solar system, reaching every hidden platform, every waiting ship, every soldier who had prepared for this day. "This is Admiral Kang Tejo. The enemy is in position. For 200 years, humanity has been silent. We have watched other species fall to the Dravex. We have heard the screams of the conquered. We have seen the graves of the extinct, and we have prepared." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Today, we stop being silent. Today, we show the galaxy what humanity really is. We are not weak. We are not cowards. We are not prey. We are the children of Earth, and we do not surrender." He took a deep breath. "All units, this is your admiral speaking. On my command, you will reveal yourselves. You will fire everything you have. You will show no mercy, because the Dravex would show none to us." He looked at the tactical display one last time. 3,000 enemy ships, 12,000 platforms, 200 strike ships, The numbers favored humanity, but only if everything worked perfectly. Endgame protocol is now active, Tejo said. All units, wake up and open fire. Across the solar system, the darkness came alive. Asteroids that had been silent for a century split open, revealing missile batteries that fired immediately. Ice moons lit up with energy beams that cut across space. Platforms that had been invisible suddenly appeared on every Dravex sensor, surrounding the enemy fleet completely. And from behind Jupiter, 200 human warships emerged at full speed, their weapons already charging. On the bridge of the Dominion, Overlord Velthos looked at his tactical display in complete disbelief. One moment, they had been alone in space. The next moment, they were surrounded by thousands of hostile targets. "What is happening?" he roared. No one had an answer. The first missiles hit the outer ships of the Dravex fleet. Explosions bloomed in the darkness of space. Fire and metal and death. The storm had finally arrived, and it was only just beginning. The first wave of missiles struck the Dravex fleet like a hammer from the gods. 200 ships exploded in the first 30 seconds. Their shields, designed to stop normal weapons, could not handle the concentrated firepower of humanity's hidden platforms. On the bridge of the Dominion, chaos had taken over. Officers screamed reports that made no sense. Alarms rang from every direction. The main tactical display showed red dots appearing everywhere, more than anyone could count. "Return fire," Overlord Velthos roared. "Find those platforms and destroy them." His ships tried to obey. They turned their weapons toward the nearest threats and fired. Some platforms were destroyed. But for every one that fell, 10 more continued shooting. The missiles kept coming. The energy beams kept cutting. The Dravex fleet was being torn apart. Commander Yuna led the strike fleet into the battle at full speed. Her ship, the Silent Thunder, was at the front of the formation. She watched the enemy fleet on her screen, saw the explosions, saw the destruction. "All ships, break into attack groups," she ordered. "Target their command vessels first. Cut off their communications." The strike fleet split into 20 groups of 10 ships each. They moved like wolves hunting a wounded animal. Fast, coordinated, deadly. They had trained for this battle their entire lives. They knew exactly what to do. Group 7, take out that carrier on the left flank. Group 12, cover the platforms in Sector 9. All ships, watch for enemy fighters. Do not let them organize. The battle was everywhere at once. Space had become a storm of fire and metal. Ships exploded. Missiles flew. Energy beams crossed each other like deadly lights. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. On his small warship, Kren watched in horror as the fleet fell apart around him. The ship next to them took a direct hit from 3 missiles and simply disappeared. The ship behind them lost its engines and began drifting into a cloud of debris. "Captain," he shouted, "we need to retreat." Draven stood at the command console, his face gray with shock. "There is no retreat. The humans have surrounded us completely." Another explosion rocked their ship. The lights flickered. Smoke began to fill the bridge. "Damage report," Draven demanded. "Shields at 20%, engines at 50%. We have lost 3 weapon batteries." Kren looked at his sensor display. The readings that he had tried to warn everyone about were now clear as day. Thousands of human weapons platforms, hidden across the entire solar system, all firing at the same time. It was a trap that had been built over 100 years. "I tried to tell them," he whispered. "I tried to warn them." On the Dominion, Overlord Velthos finally understood the truth. The humans had not been weak. They had not been hiding in fear. They had been waiting, preparing, building the most massive ambush in the history of warfare. "How?" he demanded. "How did they hide all of this?" Torax had no answer. He was too busy trying to keep the flagship alive. The Dominion was the largest ship in the fleet, and the humans were focusing a huge amount of firepower on it. Missiles struck the shields every few seconds. Warning alarms screamed about hull damage and system failures. "Overlord, we must retreat," Torax said. "If we stay here, We will die. We cannot retreat, Velthos snarled. The Dravex do not retreat, then we will be destroyed. Velthos grabbed Torax by the throat and lifted him off the ground. I would rather die than run from humans. He threw his second-in-command across the bridge. Torax hit the wall hard and slumped to the floor, unconscious or dead. Continue fighting, Velthos screamed at his officers. Kill them! Kill them all! But his orders meant nothing now. The battle had moved beyond his control. The Dravex fleet was scattered, burning, dying. Ships that tried to fight were destroyed. Ships that tried to run were chased down by the human strike fleet. There was no escape. Admiral Tejo watched the battle from Earth's fury. He felt no joy at the destruction. Each explosion was a ship full of living beings. Even if they were enemies, they were still lives being lost. Admiral, his tactical officer said, the enemy fleet has lost 60% of its ships. Their formation has completely collapsed. What about our losses? 47 platforms destroyed. 12 strike ships damaged. 3 destroyed. 422 human casualties confirmed. Tejo closed his eyes. 422. More than he had hoped. Fewer than he had feared. Continue the attack, he said quietly. But offer them the chance to surrender. Open a channel to their flagship. A moment later, his image appeared on the screens of every Dravex ship that could still receive signals. This is Admiral Kang Tejo of the United Earth Fleet. Your fleet is destroyed. Your invasion has failed. I offer you the chance to surrender. Power down your weapons, and we will take you prisoner. You will be treated fairly. This is my promise. On the Dominion, Velthos watched the human's message with burning hatred. Surrender. The human was asking him to surrender. The great overlord of the Dravex Empire. Bowing to insects. Never. He growled. He walked to the weapons console and pushed aside the officer standing there. His fingers moved across the controls, setting the Dominion on a collision course with the nearest human station. If I must die, I will take them with me, he said. All power to engines. Ram that station. But before the Dominion could complete its suicide run, the silent thunder appeared directly in its path. Commander Yuna had been watching the flagship, waiting for it to do something desperate. All weapons, fire on the Dominion's engines, she ordered. The silent thunder unleashed everything it had. Missiles, energy beams, railguns. The concentrated fire hit the Dominion's engines and tore them apart. The massive ship began to spin out of control, its power failing. On the bridge, Velthos was thrown to the floor as the ship lurched violently. Fires broke out everywhere. The ceiling collapsed in sections. The great overlord of the Dravex Empire lay in the wreckage of his command, surrounded by the bodies of his officers. This is not possible, he whispered. We were supposed to win. We are the Dravex. We always win. The Dominion's power failed completely. Emergency lights flickered on, casting everything in a red glow. The ship was dead in space, helpless and alone. Around it, the battle was ending. The remaining Dravex ships, less than 500 now, had finally stopped fighting. Some had surrendered. Others had simply shut down, their crews too shocked to continue. A few had tried to escape, but the human platforms had blocked every exit. Admiral Tejo took a deep breath. All units, cease fire. The battle is over. Silence fell across the solar system. The storm had passed. In 4 hours, humanity had destroyed the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. In 4 hours, everything had changed. Yuna docked the silent thunder with the crippled Dominion. Human soldiers boarded the enemy flagship and found Velthos lying in the wreckage. He was still alive, but only barely. Take him to medical, Yuna ordered. He will face trial for his crimes. As they carried the overlord away, he looked up at her with his black eyes. Why? He asked weakly. Why did you hide? Why did you wait? Yuna knelt down beside him. Because we knew someone like you would come eventually. Someone who thought we were weak. Someone who thought we were easy prey. We wanted you to think that. We wanted you to come. You planned this for over a century. We planned this for 150 years, Yuna corrected. Every generation added something new. Every scientist contributed. Every soldier trained. We knew we could not match your numbers in a fair fight. So, we made sure the fight would not be fair. Velthos laughed weakly, blood coming from his mouth. Clever insects. Very clever insects. We are not insects, Yuna said. We are human. And we do not forgive those who threaten our home. She stood up and walked away, leaving the broken overlord to the medics. The war was over. Humanity had won. But the aftermath was just beginning. The news spread across the galaxy faster than any ship could travel. The Dravex Empire, the most powerful force in known space, had been crushed. Their massive fleet was destroyed. Their great overlord was captured. And it had been done by humans. The quiet species. The polite traders. The ones everyone had dismissed as weak. On 100 worlds, beings of 100 species watched the recordings that humanity had sent out. They saw the hidden platforms awakening. They saw the missiles flying. They saw the Dravex ships exploding one after another. They saw the entire battle, from the first shot to the final surrender. No one laughed at humanity anymore. On Earth, President Kim Hana addressed the people in a broadcast that reached every human colony. She stood in front of a window that showed the blue sky and green land of the homeworld. Untouched and safe. My fellow humans, she began. Yesterday, we faced the greatest threat our species has ever known. The Dravex Empire came to destroy us, to enslave us, to erase us from existence. They believed we were weak. They believed we could not fight back. They were wrong. She paused, her eyes bright with emotion. Our soldiers fought with courage that words cannot describe. Our engineers built weapons that changed the course of history. Our ancestors planned for this day, knowing that they would never see it themselves. They did it for us. They did it for our children. They did it because that is what humans do. We protect each other. We survive. We endure. Across Earth and all the colonies, people watched in silence. Some cried. Some cheered. All of them felt the same thing. Pride in being human. We have lost brave men and women in this battle, Hana continued. We will never forget their sacrifice. But because of them, our species will live on. Our children will grow up free. Our future is safe. She looked directly into the camera. To the rest of the galaxy, I say this. We do not seek war. We do not desire conquest. We want only to live in peace and trade with our neighbors. But know this. If you threaten us, we will defend ourselves. Earth does not make empty warnings. Earth keeps its promises. 3 months later, the Galactic Assembly met for the first time since the battle. Representatives from 62 species gathered in the Great Hall on the neutral world of Nexus Prime. They had come to discuss one thing: humanity. Admiral Tejo and Commander Yuna represented Earth at the meeting. They sat at a small table at the center of the hall, surrounded by aliens of every shape and size. Some looked at them with fear. Some looked at them with respect. A few looked at them with something close to awe. The speaker of the assembly, an ancient being from the Vormax species, began the session. We are here to discuss the recent conflict between humanity and the Dravex Empire. The events of this war have changed the balance of power in our galaxy. Many of you have questions. I will allow the human representatives to speak first. Tejo stood up slowly. He was tired. The past 3 months had been filled with negotiations, trials, and the difficult work of rebuilding. But this moment was important. This was humanity's chance to define itself to the galaxy. Thank you, Speaker, he said. I know many of you are afraid of us now. You have seen what we can do. You wonder if we will use our power against you. I am here to tell you that we will not. Murmurs spread through the hall. Tejo raised his hand for silence. For 200 years, humanity has been quiet. We built our hidden weapons because we knew that someday, someone would try to destroy us. The Dravex were not the first to threaten us. They were simply the first to follow through. He looked around the hall, meeting the eyes of dozens of different species. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We do not want to conquer other worlds. We want to live, to explore, to trade, to make friends. That is all we have ever wanted. But we learned something long ago. The universe does not care about what you want. The universe only respects strength. He paused. So we became strong. Not to hurt others, but to protect ourselves. And we will use that strength to defend anyone who asks for our help. The Dravex conquered 47 species. They enslaved billions of beings. They destroyed entire civilizations. We have captured their leaders. We will put them on trial for their crimes. And we will make sure that nothing like this ever happens again. The hall fell silent. Taeho sat down. Commander Yuna reached over and squeezed his hand gently. He had done well. The Vormac speaker nodded slowly. You speak of protection. But how can we trust you? You hid your true power for over a century. You deceived everyone. Taeho nodded. You are right. We kept secrets. We had to. If the Dravex had known about our defenses, they would have prepared differently. They might have won. So we hid. We pretended to be weak. And we waited. He stood up again. But now, there is no need for secrets. I will make you an offer. Humanity will share our defensive technology with any species that asks for it. We will help you build your own protection against future threats. We will not keep you weak so that we can stay strong. That is not who we are. Gasps of surprise filled the hall. Sharing technology was almost unheard of. Most species guarded their secrets carefully. Why would you do this? Asked a representative from the Mira Collective. Yuna stood up to answer. Because the galaxy should not need a protector. Every species should be able to defend itself. We do not want to be rulers. We do not want to be guardians. We want to be partners, equals. The discussions continued for many hours. Questions were asked and answered. Deals were offered and considered. By the end of the session, humanity had formed defensive alliances with 34 species. The shape of the galaxy was changing. 1 year later, Admiral Taeho stood on a balcony overlooking the city of Seoul. It was evening, and the lights of the buildings sparkled like stars on the ground. Behind him, soft music played from inside the celebration hall. The anniversary of the victory was being marked with parties across all human worlds. Yuna walked out to join him. She was wearing a formal dress instead of her uniform, and she looked uncomfortable. You should be inside, she said. They want to give you another medal. Taeho laughed quietly. I have enough medals. My wall cannot hold any more. They stood together in silence for a moment, watching the city below. Do you think we did the right thing? Yuna asked. Sharing our technology, opening ourselves to the galaxy. I do not know, Taeho admitted. It was a risk. But I believe that strength is not just about weapons. It is about trust. If we had stayed hidden, stayed afraid, we would have been alone forever. Now, we have friends, allies. That is worth more than any weapon. The Dravex did not understand that. No, they only understood power. They did not understand that power means nothing if you have no one to share it with. Yuna nodded slowly. What will you do now? They offered you a seat on the council. They want you to lead the new Alliance fleet. Crow. Taeho shook his head. I am 63 years old. I have fought enough battles. It is time for younger people to lead. People like you. Yuna's eyes widened. Me? You showed great skill in the battle. You have the respect of the other species, and you understand something important. That being strong does not mean being cruel. The galaxy needs leaders like you. He turned to face her. I am giving you my recommendation for the position. The council will listen. Will you accept? Yuna was silent for a long moment. Then she straightened her shoulders and met his eyes. I will try to be worthy of it. You already are. They walked back inside together, into the light and music and celebration. Behind them, the stars shone over Earth, peaceful and quiet. Humanity had sent its final warning. The galaxy had listened. And now, a new chapter was beginning. One where humans were no longer the quiet species in the corner of the galaxy. They were something more. Something that the universe would never forget. The children of Earth had finally come home.